Hellcat.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Sweaty Potato Meyer RC channel, and today guys, as you can see by the first part of the video that the weather really isn't going good and the temperature isn't going good, so for right now we're just going to have to do wrenching videos and stuff like that, so because there ain't going to be no bashing outside. That's one thing that brings something to mind. The Rampage, the dog bone came for the Rampage. You know, I got a set of two of them. They're right here. But what happened was when I was getting ready to replace them and getting everything apart, I found some bad bearings in the rear carriers for the axles and everything. So I'm waiting on bearings from Industrial Motors here in town. They're supposed to be having some bearings here, I think Wednesday. So once I have that, I get the bearings back, or the bearings here, I'll be able to put that back together, and I will be able to snow bash with that, so we will have some snow bashing, because that's all we're gonna have for until the temperature straightens out. So, and then what we're gonna do today is we're gonna do shock rebuilds on the FT, because I'm going to explain it later, when we get into, rebuilding it and everything. But what happens to these things over time, they start leaking, and I'll get into the reason why they start leaking and everything. The FTs is finally starting to leak, and so it's time to rebuild them. And then another thing I wanted to discuss with everybody is the different shock fluids, and I got just, 50 weight for my rear shocks on the FT, and what I liked about it is it's factory team, it's silicone shock fluid, but it's a Lucas Oil product, I think that's sweet. And the same with the diff fluid. And what I did was I got some 5,000 diff fluid, some 5,000 weight, and I seen some, they had even clear up to like 3 million, 5 million weights up there, and pretty much all it was is like grease in a syringe. And so what I've done is I've taken Lucas Red and Tacky, and I filled the differential in this thing with Lucas Red and Tacky. And what I did was I packed it full of grease, and I put the two halves together, leaving one plug out. And when I put them together, it just squeezed all the excess grease out of where the plug goes. And so when that happened, I got everything tight. I finally just wiped the grease off, and so this differential right here is filled with completely full of Lucas Red and Tacky, the spider gears and stuff inside. So I'm curious to see how it compares, to this 5,000 weight. And as far as I'm concerned, tube of Lucas Red and Tacky, it'll build a lot of differentials. So I wanted to discuss a little bit of that and everything. So I guess next we'll get right into rebuilding these shocks. So, all right, guys, we're down here on the bench, and I was wanting to discuss, first of all, how a shock absorber works, or this kind, anyways. These aren't filled with gas or anything, but they have two small holes in the piston. You see those two small holes? Okay, and then when they're filled with when they're in the cylinder with the fluid travels through those two holes from either side, and that's what causes the shock to dampen and everything. So that's how the shock works, first of all. And then what I found over time, and it doesn't matter, it's happened to the Baja, it's happened to the Rampage. In fact, I need to fix a couple on the Rampage. I didn't have any shock fluid, but what happens over time, guys, is this nut comes loose. You see how the piston's loose on the shaft? And what happens is that nut comes loose, and what I do to fix that is well, of course, I just tighten it back. Grab a pair of pliers and wrap it with a napkin so I don't mar up my aluminum, and then I'll just tighten it back down. Just like that. I'm not going to do that. But when that piston comes loose, what happens is that shock shaft is able to jack around in there. I'm still not liking how tight that is. I'm going to do what I had planned. Yep, that's all she's got. So that piston's not very loose. I mean, it's evidently they got a little bit of play in them, but not near as much as it had. So I snugged that up, and the last two that I've rebuilt for the Baja, it seems like when you snug them up and you get them running right, this seal in here, it seals again. But you can rebuild them. You can take these things apart. I'm gonna go ahead and try to rebuild this with one and try to save some time, save some time, wrenching, whatever. It's not like I have anything better to do, but anyways. So then we're gonna put the shock together, and we'll go ahead and throw just a little bit of shock oil on our finger and run it around the seal. Okay. Then we'll tighten this down. Keep that nice and tight. Okay, now the next thing we're gonna do, we'll set it in here. And I like to put my piston like halfway in stroke, not quite all the way at the top, but we'll set her down in here. And then, which bottle's full, which one is it? This one's completely full, so we'll go ahead with this one. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and fill the shock. And I just barely let it drizzle in like that so I don't get a bunch of air. And just put that in. And the first fill, we're gonna go clear to the top. I spilled a little bit, dang it. Already making messes. But we'll fill it all the way to the top and we'll just let it sit until it levels down. We'll fill it again. So I'll be right back. All right, guys, I topped it off a second time, and as you can see, the bubbles are slowly, one by one, coming top to the top. I also reversed the piston to the bottom position after some fluid got underneath of it, and then I I put the piston all the way down, and so that's the air pockets that are coming up. Little tiny air pockets. It just takes a little patience, and I'm gonna wait here until these quit coming, and then we'll get right back to assembling the shock. All right, we got all the air bubbles out of it. They quit coming up, guys. One thing I did forget to mention is I have tried to cut corners and tried to rebuild these, just putting new shock fluid in it and trying to, not cleaning it real well and just trying to get by. And that doesn't work, guys, because what happens is those little tiny holes in that piston, they'll get clogged, and then your shock is hydrolocked or whatever. It's not a shock absorber anymore. It's more like a solid suspension. So we're gonna go ahead and put this cap on. And I fill mine clear to the top because there's there's this bubble little thing in here that's gonna, as I tighten it down, it's gonna squish fluid out. So that should guarantee me absolutely no air in it. Okay, and we'll grab our Rovan wheel nut tool and shock absorber tool. All right, guys, and here we go. Final result. So yeah, got her all rebuilt. I got another one to do. I'll probably do that one off camera, and then I'm already seeing right now that that seal seems to have taken care of itself. You know, there's a little bit of stuff on the shaft from rebuilding it, but you know, when I move it up and down, that seal it's not leaking anymore. So it helped out tightening the piston and everything, so the shaft isn't going in there crooked and all that stuff. So, all right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and reassemble the shock. And I know in one of my last videos I talked about what I had done, you know, with the shocks, the rear shocks on this FT, because it creates so much torque. And let me see if I have one that I can get out. Yeah, I do. So what the stock Baja shocks and Baja platform shocks come is they have a large spring on what is it, the bottom, and then a smaller spring up on the top. And because my engine's creating so much torque, it will bottom out my suspension. It'll bottom the shocks out, and the chassis is dragging on the floor or on the ground. So what I did was I took one of my other shocks, you know, some extra shocks that I had, and I put the two big springs together. And that seems to have done the trick. And so let's go ahead and see if we can get this assembled the rest of the way. All right, there we go. So we got her all put back together. Yeah, all fresh and rebuilt. There we go. All right, guys, back here up off the bench, and got our shock rebuilt and everything. And there's really nothing to them to do it. I know it scares a lot of people, you know, and everything. So that's going to conclude today's video, guys. I hope everybody enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, guys, and you like what you see, you should probably do that, because this is what I do. And by the subscribe button, there's a bell notification. Select that, select all, and you get every upload I do. And don't forget, if there's something on your mind, leave a comment in the comments section. We'll see you next time, guys.